how you were raised significantly impacts how you decide to raise your children, whether you decide to raise your children in the same way that your parents raised you, or you didn't like the way that your parents raised you, so you try to do the exact opposite.
Right.
And when you get together in a relationship and you don't have those conversations about parenting styles, like how was you parented when you was growing up? How do you want to parent your kids? Because it's so many things that affected the culture, your religion, your political views, the community in which you were raised in. It all affects people's parenting styles. And if you don't have those conversations, it can have a huge impact on your relationship or dissatisfaction in your relationship.
What's up, real ones? Welcome back to the Real Relationship Podcast, where we're bringing the real back to relationships.
Yes, sir.
I'm Asha Steele.
And I'm Devin Steele.
And we're so excited that you guys are tuning in today with us.
Yeah, man. Like when we started this podcast, we always talked about starting it because we wanted to keep it real. Like always keep it real with you, because we know that on social media, there's a lot of fictitious relationships.
Unfortunately.
And a lot of people aspire to be like relationships that are not even real. So we wanted to create this platform where we keep it real, where we talk about, the successes that we have in our marriage, but we also talk about our failures or areas in which we're struggling in. So I'm excited to shoot this episode today because we're going to talk about one of the areas in which we struggle in, and one that we're currently working on right now. So I'm excited to really get into it.
Yes.
I'm sure it's going to help out a lot of other couples.
Yeah, but before we get into that, you guys, this is the holiday season. We missed you guys for the holiday Thanksgiving, and so I just wanted us to start off with just talking about thankfulness, because like I said, this is the season of giving and just being grateful and thankful. And so since, we are on that, what do you call?
That vibe,
that energy, that vibe of just creating that, I would like for us to just take a time out just to say what we're thankful for, share that. So
ladies first.
Let me know. I started off, but now you want to say.
I already can tell by your whole tone where you was going. You was going to start with me, but we're going to go ahead and start with you.
Okay. So I'm just thankful for a lot, to be honest. I'm thankful for God blessing me every day to wake up, to have another opportunity just to take advantage of a day and just be the best version of myself that I can be, continue to strive for greatness, continue to be a great wife, great mom, great sister, daughter, just try to be a better version of Asha. And so I'm always grateful for just every day that I'm able to wake up. I'm grateful for my family because y'all are everything to me. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful for a lot.
Yeah, for me, I think that I'm thankful for two things. Well, since this is the podcast about me and you, I'll keep it to just me and you. So I'm thankful for the steps that you have taken in order to make sure that we have a tighter family unit. Because we talked about episodes before, like, a blended family is hard, and people don't really talk about all the obstacles that arise because this is a blended family, and it's not just our household that impacts our household, but it's also the other parents in any blended family. It's also the other parents that impact the vibe in the household. So it comes with a lot of challenges, but no matter how many challenges we face, we're constantly trying to make this work so that all of us are in a type of environment where we feel love, where we feel cared about, and where we feel like we can grow the most. So I'm thankful that, you continue to make those steps and put forth the effort in order to do that. Another thing that I'm thankful for is just the way that you speak life into me, right? Like the other day we had a conversation when we was laying in the bed, and Asha said something that like completely blew my mind. Something I've never heard a woman or a wife say to a man or a husband before. And she was like, nah, I'm not really going to tell y'all. No. She was like, it's an honor to watch what you're doing with your life. Mm-hmm. And it like took me back when she said that. I'm like, hold on, come again. What did you just say? She was like, no, like it's really an honor to watch you and everything that you're doing in your life and having a front row seat to it. Because she said that she didn't get to see me make it to the NFL. She didn't really understand the work and the perseverance it took in order to make it to that level. But now she's actually an eyewitness to the type of person I am when I'm trying to accomplish certain things in my life, like the effort that I put in, right? The perseverance that I show, being able to overcome adversity, and just being able to hear your wife speak to you like that. I was about to let you go max out the credit card, but you already did that, so you know what I mean. Took it
you
upon
had
yourself.
to throw something in there, all crazy.
But nah, like it was dope, and I was just thankful for that because it gave me that boost. Like I put on Instagram the other day that like coming towards the home stretch of school, like yo, this joint ain't no joke.
Yeah,
like it's frustrating. I've never wrote this much before in my life. Like I've never been challenged this much intellectually before in my life. So it's just like it gave me that boost, that energy drink, that energy shot in order to, finish it strong. So I'm thankful for you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for saying that, babe. I love you. But yeah, you guys, I'm thankful for everything. Like I just said, we're all thankful for just, each other. We hope that you guys are having a great holiday season. Continue to just spread that holiday cheer, that thankfulness, that gratitude, and continue to just pay it forward. I think that's what it's all about, especially during this time, just paying it forward and just showing that like I said, that gratitude for other people around you, that gratitude for God for blessing us. And so we just want to continue that throughout the season and even on into next year, right? Yeah. So getting into it, before we get into it, one more thing before we get into today's topic, which we're really excited to talk about. Just keeping it real. Let's just keep it real a little bit. Keep a real moment. So you got anything that you want to keep it real about? Again. You know what? Him and this,
I'm respectful this little young man. First. My parents raised me right.
Okay, you guys. So I'm going to just keep it real. Since you wanted to throw me under the bus. My man over here looking real handsome, you guys. Y'all see him with little Cartiers on. And I had to get him for Christmas, but he didn't really want me to get him, y'all. He was over me getting them because y'all know my husband, he likes to be frugal, right?
Yeah.
Which is great because we're able to do so many things and being able to, purchase our home and save and pay our children's college tuition and all of this stuff, right? So the frugalness goes a long way. But when it comes to the holiday season, he don't like me spending too much on his gifts. But I just felt like...
Hold on. Let me explain why. Let me explain to him why. Like, when I first made it to the league, I bought a Range Rover. I got drafted in 2012, and I bought like a 2013 Range Rover. And mind-blowing. Like, you come from the struggle, and you able to buy a $130,000 car like that, and it's just like, yo, it's wild. Like, I used to take trips for no reason. Like I just used to drive for no reason just to be in a car. Like I was so excited about having this car, and then about a year later it was just like it didn't mean that much to me anymore. And I realized it's like, yo, when we get stuff, like we may enjoy it for the moment, but eventually we hit this baseline where it's like it don't really do nothing. So I don't like going out and buying expensive things based off of emotion, because I realize a couple of months from now I ain't really going to care about it the same way I did when I first bought it or I initially got it. So I don't like when Asha go out and buy me expensive gifts. I'd rather her spend it on herself or spend it on the kids, because I don't really need much.
Well, I do. And so that's why I got him these glasses. Of course, it's before Christmas, so he saw them and he has them. But they look amazing on him. He looks great. He looks good. And so, I just think sometimes you just have to splurge a little bit, just a
I
little bit,
agree.
treat yourself. I feel like he worked so hard, and let me just give you a little bit more praise, because when I tell you, like, just how he was speaking about his journey now, from him going in to get into this program, this master's program, and just like talking about it beforehand, about how he was unsure if he wanted to do it or if he should be doing it or if it was like the right thing,
Or if I was smart enough to do it. Go ahead and
yeah,
keep it
like just
always
hesitant about, if the program was right for him, because it's just like you think of Ivy League and it's just like, am I that, right? And seeing him get into the program, and since he's been in the program, just excelling and exceeding all expectations that he had for himself. Like,
Well, my
can I tell you?
expectation was pretty low, so it didn't take that much to exceed all my expectations.
But when I tell y'all, this man has gotten A's after A's after A's after A's. I don't think you got anything else but an A, right? All these papers. Well, still, it's an A.
Yeah.
But all these papers that he's been doing, the research that he's been doing, like everything, staying up all hours of the night, just to do this work and meet deadlines and continuously like show like you're supposed to be there. Like, Ivy League, I don't know what y'all defined it as, but it's this man right here, okay? It got a new image to what it is supposed to be. And so I'm just like, you know what? You deserve it. You just all that you do for everybody else, all that you continue to just strive to be great for not only yourself, but for your family. I think you deserve a little bit of expensive here and there, a little bit of quality here and there. So
here and there. Yeah, let's keep it at here and there. Like here 1 year and then 5 years later, then you deserve something else,
yes.
But not like back to back. But even on that topic, it's crazy to me because, one thing that I learned just being in school and feeling like school wasn't for me when I was growing up, when I was in high school, when I was in college, I realized that it's because I never really understood how school aligned with my purpose, right? Like my childhood dream was to make it to the NFL, and I knew that in order to make it to the NFL, I just needed to stay eligible. Like I needed to do the bare minimum in order to live out my dream. So I wasn't the type of person like sitting front row in class, barely went to class. Like I just wasn't in the books. Like I did what I needed to do in order to stay eligible. But now, like the path where I'm at in my life, I understand what my purpose is. And now I understand how school aligns with my purpose and is going to help me fulfill my goals or reach my goals and fulfill my purpose. So it's like anytime you're trying to accomplish something in life, like it's so important for you to really understand what your purpose is. Because they always say when you know your why, you'll figure out the how. And because now I know what my why is, I know the impact that I want to have on this world, I can reverse engineer, find out what I need to do, and then get it done.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with a relationship. If you don't really know why you're in that relationship with the person, what you're trying to accomplish, then you might not put forth the effort in order to reach those goals,
right,
or to fulfill that purpose. And I think that's so important for people to do, because I think initially we know why we want to be with somebody, but it's a little bit surface level. So then when that all wears off and then, you really with this person, is like, if you're not clear about what you're trying to accomplish together, then that's when things really start to fall apart. So
yeah, that is definitely
I just wanted
true.
to drop that on y'all real quick. For my just keeping it real moment. I'm not even sure if I told you this. I apologize ahead of time if I didn't tell you this, because Asha don't like when I don't tell her something, and y'all know before her.
Here we go, y'all.
My mic about to fall off.
Oh, what you gotta say?
Hold on. And we are back. Hold on, my mic still won't act dumb. We back now.
What you gotta say?
All right, I know, right? It's a sign, and not
okay.
But this past Thanksgiving, right? Like we talked about, we have a blended family. So I alternate holidays with Leah's mom. And when I took her to the airport, and I was like dropping off, because she flies by herself. She's been flying by herself since she was like 7 years old. So she flies an unaccompanied minor. And when I was going to drop her off, I went to like check her in at the gate, because they was calling for the last people to get on the plane, and they always leave the kids to go last. So when I'm walking up there, I get a lady Leah's ticket, and then a mom comes up behind me, and she like what a little 4-year-old boy look. He looked mad young, and you can tell he ain't want to leave his mom. And she was sad too. You know, it's the holidays. It get your parents, y'all being, you know, you being your feelings. Like you want to be able to spend time with your kid. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, darn, man. Like when you are growing up and you just out here living your life, not really thinking about the consequences of your action, you don't really understand that sometimes your ignorance or your fun is somebody else's pain. Because I know that kid would love nothing more but to spend the holidays with his mom and his dad together. Leah would love nothing more to do that as well. And it was like, it hit me that I was so irresponsible back then, right? And it was like the first time that I apologized to Leah. I think when I went to pick her up or something, I apologized because it's like, yo, when I was young, you know what I mean? I was unguided, if that's a word, if that's the right word, misguided. And I made a lot of decisions that impacts your life now that I didn't really think about then. And I think that this is why it's so important for me now to do what we need to do to make our marriage work, because I see how Arya loves being around us. Mm-hmm. Like both of us, when we able to like hug and kiss on her and play with her, like it do something to her. Like when we kiss her on the cheek and she like grab both of our heads and like, do it again. It's just like, yo, like this is what this is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just think about the impact it's going to have on Arya's life, that she's being raised under the same roof as her mom and dad. Mm-hmm. When she go off to school, we can both hug her and kiss her when she go off. She come home, we can both greet her. Holidays, we can both spend with her, sitting at the dinner table. Like all this stuff matters, and it's so important for us and everybody else out there in a marriage to understand the importance that we play in our children's lives. So, like I said, I don't know if I told you that by the look on your face. I didn't tell you this.
No, this is new to me.
Yeah, I didn't tell you this, but yeah. That's my just keeping it real moment. For everybody who listen, who must be single, who might be single, like, man, just think about the consequences of your actions, because a lot of times we just out here having fun, and our fun's going to turn into somebody else's pain if we ain't handling our responsibilities right. If you in a marriage and things a little bit rocky, I'm not saying that you guys stay together for the kids, because if you just sticking it out for the kids and you're not doing it because this is something you really want to work on, it could be detrimental to the kids. But what I'm saying to you is this: put in the work in order to stick it out for each other, because it will have a positive impact on your kids to see, you know what? And I'm not even saying hide it from the kids. Like sometimes kids need to see like, yo, like marriage ain't all beautiful. Like you ain't always going to wake up happy. There's going to be times where y'all have disagreements or arguments, but look how my parents worked it out. Mm-hmm. So like when I get older, I get married, I'm understanding that I shouldn't be striving for what I'm seeing on TV, because that's not real.
Yeah.
My parents showed me healthy disagreements, and they showed me how we can resolve those conflicts. So yeah, man, that's just my just keeping it real moment. That joint really, it did something to me in the airport when I saw, because I've gotten used to, you know, taking Leah to the airport, so it don't really hit me as much. Mm-hmm. But when I saw that 4-year-old, it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. Like, I think that kind of ties into our topic of today, which is called parenting styles. Yeah. Because I think it's important, like you said, just to, when you are in a relationship, or if you're not in a relationship and you're out here, you know, being intimate with people, that you be intentional about what you're doing. And if you're not being intentional, protecting yourself so that you can not get into situations like that. Because like you said, although both of our parents at one point in time were married, they got divorced. And so we had a broken family that we were brought up in, and it caused a lot of chaos and dysfunction, which also have to do with separate parenting styles as well, and having to be raised in two separate households. And so I think it's so important for us to be intentional. You know, it's not everyone's idea to, maybe conceive children when they're married. Everyone has different ways and beliefs, and things happen, and we're not here to pass judgment on anyone, but it's just thinking about what you want for your future, right? And if you do have children, what do you want for their future? I think a lot of times we just make decisions in that moment and don't think about the consequences or the end all be all of our actions in that moment later down the line. And so I think it's so important for when we are doing something so intimate and so like delicate as bringing a life into this world, that we put a little bit more time and effort and thought into those moments and those individuals that we do decide to conceive with, because it matters. And at the end of the day, it's going to affect your child, and making sure that they're in the best possible environment and upbringing and just comfortable in love, regardless of what the situation may be, should be your priority. So I think we have to do more as a whole, people in general, of just making sure that we're mindful of those moments.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why is that not only will it affect you, but it's going to affect your kid, and your kid's going to affect the community, which is going to affect your city, which is going to affect your county, state, country. Like, everybody is either a victim or a victor of our decisions. Like, it's going to impact, no matter what you do, whatever you choose to do with your life. Like, everybody says, my life, I do what I want with it. But nah, like, you impact a lot of people's lives. Yeah. So it's like, we got to be selfish in a sense, but we got to think about how our decisions, how our actions really impact our communities as a whole. Miles Monroe used to say, because people love to say, make a decision and then live with it. But it's like, he would say that decisions are made in a split second. Like, you don't make decisions and live with it. You make decisions and you live with the consequences. So before you make any decision, you got to think about the consequences and ask yourself, can I live with that? Right. And then that'll help you make better decisions. But like Asha said, our topic today is about parenting styles. And this is something that we have struggled with because I think a lot of people struggle with it because we come from different upbringings. Like, we were raised different ways. And obviously when you get older, how you were raised significantly impacts how you decide to raise your children, whether you decide to raise your children in the same way that your parents raised you, or you didn't like the way that your parents raised you, so you try to do the exact opposite. Right. And when you get together in a relationship and you don't have those conversations about parenting styles, like how was you parented when you was growing up? How do you want to parent your kids? Because it's so many things that affected the culture, your religion, your political views, the community in which you were raised in. It all affects people's parenting styles. And if you don't have those conversations, it can have a huge impact on your relationship or dissatisfaction in your relationship. And me and Asha, we never sat down and had that talk. Yeah. And then being a blended family, like, it's not even just about me and Asha's parenting styles, because Leah's mom's parenting style also influences how Leah acts, or the person she may have in her house, their parenting style. Like, it's a lot that goes into it. So I think it's important to sit down and have that conversation. And when me and Asha had that conversation, we realized, man, we didn't know. We was just out here winging it. Yeah. Hoping that it was going to work, but we butted heads a lot about things.
Yeah. And I think I think we should just start off with like giving a little backstory, because I think it's a lot of times, and I feel like within our community for sure, and I can speak to myself, and we discussed it as well, like, we don't really have those conversations, right, with our parents of how they parented us or how their parents may have parented them, and just having those conversations of how you can go on and be successful parents, right? How you can make sure that even if you aren't in the same household that is cohesive. Yeah. And so not having that pretty much those conversations or the guide in a sense of knowing how to do so is difficult, and you do have to navigate, and you kind of learn the hard way a lot of times, and you may fall short, and you have issues and setbacks, and you got to figure it out along the way, because once you're a parent, like, you're a parent, like, you have to do it. It's like you can't just be like, okay, let me not, right? Even though that happens. And so it's important for us to have a better understanding of that, because you can see the domino effect. You can see how the influence of your parents or that your grandparents have affected you, that may now affect your parenting style, which may affect your child and their parenting style, and if we don't sit down and really have those conversations, and which we always throw out the word being intentional about what we're instilling in our children and in our household, it's going to just continue to just, in a sense, be a mess.
Yeah. You're going to be dissatisfied.
Yeah.
It's going to cause huge problems. Like I said, that was one of our biggest issues, because I'm pretty sure we talked about it in the blended family episode, but it's like me and Asha never even set the boundaries of, what her role may be with Leah. Mm-hmm. Like, I just, I felt like what's understood don't need to be said. So we never really had that conversation, and it really impacted us because, like I said, I keep saying, like I said, Asha, she was parented a certain way. I was parented a certain way. So she has her ideology about how parenting should be, and I have mine. So if we're parenting Leah different ways, and Leah said this to me, and it just like completely blew my mind, because I'm like a stern dude. Like, I'm like, I ain't did nothing wrong. Like, it's you. But when Leah was like, yeah, when I do something and Dad doesn't say anything about it, like, I just think it's cool. So I don't see an issue with it. So if Ma says something, then I'm just like, well, why is she saying something and Dad not saying nothing? Mm-hmm. And it made me realize, like, yo, we really got to be on the same accord.
Yeah.
Because I think kids can sniff when parents are different, like greyhounds. Mm-hmm. And they will take advantage of that. Right? So we had to have that conversation where we sat down and was like, yo, let's just set the boundaries. What do I need to change about myself and my parenting style so that we're cohesive with this thing? So we're not sending mixed signals, because that got to be hard for the kid as well. If they're getting mixed signals, they really don't know what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for parents to really sit down and come up with a game plan on how they're going to parent together instead of parenting separately.
Yeah. I think it's just, like I said, to start off from a backstory, growing up in two separate households, it's going to always be hard, right? Because you can't control the other parent and what they're doing with the child when you're not around.
Right.
And so for me, like I said, my parents were together for a brief period of time when I was younger, but it wasn't really a healthy environment, a healthy relationship. So when they split, it was always, like you said, sometimes we're here for the holidays, sometimes we're there for the weekend, sometimes we're here. And you notice that, like you said, the parenting styles is different. Yeah. Where one parent may, be okay with things happening and, maybe a little bit more lenient than the other parent. And so it put me in a position to where I understood what was right from wrong as far as from a child perspective, and how you should, in my mind at the time, parent a child. Mm-hmm. But it did send mixed signals sometimes, because you see one person doing things a certain way. They may have more structure. They may have more, rules and regulations and everything that you can follow by. And then the other person, and it can cause tension. And so I think just having that, seeing that and being a part of that, it impacted me as a parent as well, and my thoughts and beliefs on how parenting should be.
No, I agree. And I think that because we didn't have that conversation that is so desperately needed, mm-hmm. We just, like, I don't know, man, it caused a lot of issues because we just was trying to figure it out. I just felt like we was on separate teams. But then when we were able to sit down and really just have that discussion, like we told y'all before, like, I think having a baby changes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I came into a relationship with one, but it completely changes you. And I think sometimes you got to have that conversation like, yo, what type of parent do you want to be?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of values do you want to instill in your children? What kind of things don't you want to do to them that happened to you in the past? I think just sitting down and having those simple conversations, it can really go a long way.
Yeah. And I think our situation is so unique, but it's so not unique because I get so many messages from individuals who are from blended families, right? And so for me, not necessarily seeing a blended family per se, growing up and not knowing how that should be, right? Although my dad had remarried, I didn't see necessarily the interaction from my stepmom as a parent.
Right.
At the time. And so I still saw it as my mom and dad in separate households. So being an adult and now dating a man who has a child and then us becoming married, there was really no clear understanding of what my role was supposed to be or how I was supposed to interact with Leah or, you know, the duties of a mom, right? Because at that time, I didn't have Aria. It was just Leah. And so I was entering into this role of being a mom to a child who had been around her mom and dad for, 2-3 years already. So they're accustomed with those individuals being in their life. And then when you come in and you take on that role, it can cause confusion. And so, like you said, not having a clear understanding of what that role looked like and amongst every parent involved can cause problems, which it did. And so
which it did.
I think it's so important for you from the beginning to outline that, right? So, and even when you're in the dating phase, right? When you go into dating someone and they have a child, having those conversations of saying, okay, if we were to take it to this level, if we were to get married, if you were to be my husband or my wife, what is your ideal of being a bonus parent, right? What is that?
Saying if you're already coming in with a kid.
Right. Having that conversation from the gate before you're even, we're engaged or anything from the gate. I think it's important to have those deep conversations. And having that understanding what that role looks like if we were to get there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't, and then we jump into that, and there may be expectations of what you should be or what you shouldn't be that we didn't discuss, and that only causes confusion now that we're actually in it. So let's discuss that and outline that beforehand so that once we get to that point, we have a clear understanding and things can work a little bit more smoother. And so I think that was one thing that we struggled with for sure, because we didn't have that conversation, like you said, and there was no clear outline of what should be.
And I think even sometimes when you do have that conversation, it may be surface level. So let's just take an example. Like when we watched the Ready to Love show, like I was hearing a lady on there talking about how she had, young kids, and she was asking like, how would that be? What kind of role would you play in their life? And they was like, man, I'd treat your son like they were my son, like he was my son. And they'd be like, oh, that is so sweet. The question should be, well, how would you treat your son?
Yes.
Because by you saying that to me that, oh, I'm going to treat your kids as if they were my own. Well, how would you treat your own? Because that don't necessarily mean too much of anything if you're going to treat your kids like they don't really matter. Yeah. If you're going to treat them horribly. So I think by getting an understanding of somebody's upbringing, how they were parented, what good qualities do they want to bring from that, and what things do they want to leave behind, so they're making sure they're not passing down, they're not, just going through that cycle of continuing to not show up for their kids in the right way. Yeah. Is really important. So what me and Asha decided to do for this episode, because we are we strong in our faith and we strong in research. So we decided to look up different parenting styles from research, because researchers normally put them into 4 different categories, which we're going to get into, because we want y'all to really just get an idea. If like you never heard about the 4 types of parenting styles, we want y'all to get an idea of where you fall. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to end the podcast with just giving y'all some of the tips that they suggest that you can do in order to make it to make y'all be on the same team when it comes to parenting styles. And one thing that we didn't do after finding out the different types of parenting styles, we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about what we believe our own parenting style is because we wanted to save it for this podcast. So it might get ugly. It might go great. I don't really know how this is going to go, but we're about to find out.
It'll be real. That's all we know.
Yeah. So let me get into these 4 types of parenting styles. The first one is authoritarian. It says these parents are strict and exert high levels of control over their kids. They may show little warmth. An authoritarian parent might respond to a child having a tantrum with punishment or yelling. They would not likely wish to understand why the child had the tantrum or address the child's feelings about it. The next one is authoritative. It says authoritative parents are relatively strict and enforce the rules they make. They also display affection to their kids. An authoritative parent might respond to a tantrum by setting clear boundaries about what is and is not acceptable. They may then remove the child from the situation that triggered the tantrum. Authoritative parents are more likely to discuss why the child had the tantrum and to be concerned about a child's intense emotions. The next one is permissive. These parents show plenty of love and affection, but enforce few boundaries. A permissive parent might not respond to a tantrum at all. Alternatively, they might respond by giving the child a gift or otherwise appeasing them. And the last parenting style is uninvolved or neglectful. Clearly, this is the worst one. It says neglectful parents don't enforce clear rules. They may display little or no interest in the child. An uninvolved parent might not notice a tantrum or be somewhere else when the tantrum occurs. It says most research shows authoritative parenting is the most effective parenting style. Authoritative parenting blends respect for the child with attention to social norms.
So,
ladies first.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you want me to get what I believe I am?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say going into us dating and just coming into the role of trying to be a parent, I feel like I was raised more so in a authoritative environment, pretty much from both parents. I feel like it may have been a little bit of permissive here and there, but for the most part, I feel like it's been authoritative. So I feel like that was where I stood as a parent, right? I feel like it should be the adults and the child. There should be a clear level of boundaries and respect that shouldn't be crossed. And things should be outlined. If there are, actions that are not in place, there should be consequences for them. You can have a conversation. I feel like I'm definitely an affectionate parent, but I feel like I'm very stern in the fact of a child should be a child and they should stay, which a lot of adults say, in a child's place and respect the adult of the household and not cross those boundaries. So I feel like I went into our relationship as that. I feel like in becoming a mother with Arya, I feel like I've taken the authoritative approach, but I also have a hint of permissive here and there, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's a good assessment of the type of parent you are. For me, I think I'm also with the donut in the pool, where it just carries me back and forth depending on the wave. I think I'm also authoritative, somewhat. I think I'm permissive. I think I'm more permissive.
Absolutely.
And I float to authoritative when I need to. Hold on, let me read this again to make sure I said permissive. These parents show plenty of love and affection, yes, but enforce few boundaries. I don't know about that. It depends on it depends on what kind of boundaries we're talking about. Like I'm not the type of parent that really just be tripping over everything. Like if it ain't big, it ain't big. Maybe that's I don't know. But I can tell you this. I think that Leah battling cancer really impacted my parenting style. Mm-hmm. A huge, like it had a significant impact because I saw I changed during that time. Mm-hmm. Whereas like I was similar to my dad before Leah got diagnosed with cancer, where it's like I'm mainly authoritative, like we setting clear boundaries, like don't cross these boundaries. But then when she got sick, it's like, yo, do whatever. I don't even care, bro. Like, I just want you to be around forever. I want to watch you grow up. I want to buy you whatever you want just to put a smile on your face to help you get through this. And of course, it had an impact, like once she became cancer-free, because then she became accustomed to a certain parenting style. I became accustomed to a certain parenting style, and it was just like hard to go back to being, stern, because it's just like, man, is life really that serious where you just gotta be a stickler about everything? So I find myself like floating back and forth where it's like I'm very loving with my kids. I'm very affectionate with my kids. I set boundaries when they need to be set, and they may not be the boundaries that I should like sometimes, but that's why we got to have those conversations where it's like, yo, I don't know if you should have did this. Like point it out to me, because I'm at a point where it's just like, if I've been doing something for so long, I don't even notice it.
Yeah. I think it's big what you said, and I feel like that situation in itself is definitely it's very unique to the parenting style that you have become accustomed to, right? And I say that because I was able to see you before Leah was diagnosed, right? For that amount of time. And I don't necessarily think that you were too... I don't feel like it was too much of a change as far as authoritative, because I didn't really see you so much as being like authoritative beforehand. You know what I mean? I saw it become way more permissive throughout her.
You didn't see me be authoritative or authoritarian?
Authoritative.
You didn't see
authoritarian is not even in there.
All right. So before Leah got sick, what category would you have put me in?
I would have put it in permissive with a hint of...
So then you think I stayed the same then?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't necessarily see too much of a change. I feel like, if anything,
I didn't bring her around my baby anyway. Listen, I ain't know her. It's like, nah.
No. I feel like the permissive throughout her battle, which is understandable, had expanded even more than before. And like you said, I feel like that definitely caused an issue for us to clash with parenting, right? Because like you said, in the beginning of us dating, when I said I seen a little bit of the authoritative and then the permissive, we were still getting to know each other, right? And so I was around Leah, but it wasn't like having to be around her all the time. I would see her when he was on breaks, coming back from, off season and stuff like that. And so it wasn't really like I was stepping into that role of being a bonus mom, a stepmother, anything like that. It was just me being there as his girlfriend and just us just getting to know each other and building a relationship. And so it wasn't until we got engaged and I had to take on that role, in a sense, of being a stepmom, that I had to realize that I had to start to be a parent, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when I noticed that the parenting that I had instilled in me started to come out, because now I was having to parent a child, and the parenting style that you were displaying was clashing. Because like you said, throughout Leah's battle, no one really, and I feel like it may be with some people, I don't know, if you're not in that position, it's a very delicate situation to be in. So no one is really trying to be authoritative or really hard when you're going up against something like that. So being permissive is understanding, but like you said, when the shift changed, when it's like, okay, now we're going to try to go back to some type of normalcy, that didn't necessarily go, And so that was the hardest thing, because it was, whereas if something is being done wrong, or if you're not listening, or you're not, acting as if you should, if you say something, it's like you're only going to act opposite of how you should react, right? And if you're not responding in a manner of, just enforcing how things should be, then it causes problems and we start to clash. And so in doing that, I just felt like we started to really butt heads a lot at that moment, right? We started to really clash. And so I feel like it wasn't really until we had Arya that we had to sit down and really talk about it, right? Because it was just like Leah came here and she moved with us full time, or primarily about 2 years ago, right? And that was just into us conceiving Arya, right? And so we had to have that conversation then, because we hadn't really parented her for an extended period of time within the household, right? Together. Right. And so it was at that moment I feel like we had to have some type of understanding of, okay, well, how is this going to be? Because now we're bringing a child into this household together, and how we parent her as her biological parents may be different than how Leah is parent, because she also has a biological parent outside our household, right? And so, like you said, something that she may learn or something that's acceptable in a household outside of ours may be acceptable and come here and not be acceptable. And now it's affecting our parenting and Arya being here. And so we had to start to have those conversations of how parenting should be, because if not, outside influences will affect our house on both aspects. And so we really had to not only understand how you parent from your upbringing and things that's acceptable to you, but things that's acceptable to me, and how we can meet somewhere in the line. Right. In the middle, Right. And it was interesting because I feel like we had a conversation recently, actually, which I feel like we were able to really be open and honest about that, right? Because for the longest time, I felt like...
Which conversation? One that we had as a family?
Yeah. Okay. I felt like we hadn't been on the same page. And it's... I'm pretty sure it's people out there that's watching knows, like, when you're not on the same page, the adults in the household are not on the same page when it comes to parenting, it's constantly clashing, right? Because whether it's your biological child, a stepchild, no matter what it is, right? They're going to play off of one parent, off the other parent, right? If I ask
Maybe
mom,
out here finessing.
Okay, if I ask mom for something, she say no, I'm gonna go ask dad, right? And if dad says yes, then mom mad at dad because you done did this and I just told her no. And
you
so
see what Ari little line behind did yesterday. Mommy said TikTok. She know how to play the fence, and she only 2.
Yes, and so we had to have that conversation, and we were really open and honest about it recently, because, like I said, it's hard to be on separate pages in the same household, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard for things to work. And so, like he was saying, whereas he would do things where I felt like it was very passive and not really setting certain boundaries and enforcing certain things, it made me look like the bad parent, right? The stickler.
Bad cop, good cop.
Yeah. And that's not good in a household, right? It's not good as parents, because, like I said, it's going to make it seem like there's one parent over here and there's another parent over there. And it's definitely not good when it's a blended household, because I feel like that wasn't a huge issue for us that caused division, because it was just like, okay, well, why is Ma acting like this? Or she's not okay with this, but dad is, right? And it's just like we had to make sure it was a clear understanding, because although it's a blended household, you don't want it to feel like a blended household. You just want it to feel like a family. You just want it to just be a cohesive, loving household, right? And so I think that's why it's so important to stress just being on the same page and being that united front as a couple, as parents, because you want to make sure that you're setting the tone for your household, not letting the children set the tone, in a sense.
True. So let's get into the tips that they suggest you can do for making your parenting styles work when they differ. It says that you should explore how your parenting styles complement each other. For instance, a permissive parent may help an authoritarian parent be more affectionate. Meanwhile, an authoritarian parent may support a permissive parent in setting boundaries. It says to develop a set of family rules on which everyone can agree. These include rules for children as well as rules about how to discipline them. Two parents might agree that spanking is never acceptable. They may decide children must lose privileges or face another penalty if they hit others. As long as they don't hit my daughter, she hitting back, cuz. It says, don't undermine one another. Parents must present a united front unless a child is in danger, such as from a parent who is berating or injuring them. It is best to discuss conflicts later. Support your partner's parenting decisions, even when they are not ones you would have made. And last, it says, learn about parenting together. Read parenting books and discuss them, or join a parenting support group. Select parenting experts you both trust. I think that's something that we can do.
What?
Read parenting books together. Do more research on parenting because, like we say in our podcast all the time, wherever there's ignorance, there's exploration. And you don't want to have a marriage based on exploration. You don't want a parent based off of exploration. You want to actually do the work in order to learn how to be the most effective spouse and the most effective parent, because we realize that how you are as a parent will impact how you are in your relation, how your kids are in their relationships when they get older. So I think that being able to dive into parenting books like we do relationships books is a must. But like you said, the conversation that we had the other day as a family, I just felt like there was a real breakthrough in that moment. It's like when you get those breakthroughs, you got to build off of them. Because they give you that momentum. They give you that motivation. Like, yo, we can work through this thing. So, it was big. It was big.
I feel like another thing which we had talked about before that what can be helpful is just having conversations outside of the children, right? So say if there is things that are concerned or you have to address something, some form of discipline actions of which they did, having that conversation together before approaching the child with what's going on, I think is important, right? Because if we're not on the same page or we don't communicate about what's going on, then you go into it and you look kind of like, okay, confusing.
Blindsided.
Yeah, and not only blindsided, but it's confusing for the child because now they don't know who they're supposed to, necessarily listen to or who's right or who's wrong or what's supposed to happen. So now we're looking confusing and like we're not on the same page when we should be on the same page when addressing the concerns that we have with our children. And so I think us realizing that we had to have those conversations aside before we had conversations as a whole has been helpful. I also think us and doing that, making sure that we're on the same page so it doesn't cause tension when we're conversing, right? Because a lot of times you'll see, like, say if you are going into a situation where you're trying to, talk about something that happened, right? Or you're trying to, your child has done something and now you have to set some type of boundaries or enforce some type of discipline, right? If you don't have that conversation beforehand and you go in, one parent goes in and they're upset about it and the other parent may not be upset, and you're not giving that energy or you're not understanding where they're coming from, you can go into a back and forth with the parent in that moment, right? So now it completely goes off from what the child did and what we're supposed to be handling to me and you as to why you're not getting it, why you're not on the same page, why you don't understand where I'm coming from. And so I think it's so important, like we had discussed, to have those conversations, to set aside that time to have that conversation and understand how you feel as a parent, how I feel as a parent, how we can go into the situation and allow both of our parenting styles to affect the outcome, right? And not just feel like we have to force our style onto the situation.
No, I agree. I mean, I think we have so much work that we still need to do in that department, but I feel like we are making a lot of strides. We just got to stay committed to the process. And I think that we can create what we're all searching for. What you talked about as far as just having a strong family unit where it doesn't feel like a blended family, but it just feels like family. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I hope that, you know, all the listeners, all our real ones, that y'all learned a lot from this episode. Like, we came in here and we just wanted to be real because we don't have everything figured out. And the point of this podcast wasn't to act like we're the experts in everything that's going on when it comes to relationships and marriage and parenting, but it was to spark real discussions that need to be had, because we don't have these type of discussions, and so many relationships and marriages are suffering because we're not willing to have those conversations, because we want to put on the front like we have it all together. When we go to family functions, we want to act like we have it all together. When we're on social media, we want to act like we have it all together. That ain't our goal. Our goal is to actually create in real life what people try to display on social media. And one of the ways in which we do that is we talk about what we're going through. We share that information with you guys because we know that there's a lot of people who are going through the similar struggles, and hopefully we could all learn together as a community and learn how to create the household that we want to have, that supports what we're trying to do with our life.
Yeah. So, like Devin said, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until next time, you guys, keep it real.
Yes, sir.